Yes, we're live.
Yay!
Great, and then just
Let me
retweet
double
that. Sweet.
check.
Oh,
Yes,
Oh.
perfect.
no.
So
All right, so
I'll just give a bit of a time for everybody to retweet. But in the meantime, thank you so much to everybody for being here on a Saturday night, evening, afternoon, morning. You know, all different time zones together. Appreciate all your time. And yeah, I think like obviously, you know, I kind of like wanted to get this conversation going, mainly because I got to know about the platform by Mario Quasimodo. I was reading, as everybody, you know, the advocate for Hicket Nunc.
The first one to meet the
Yeah.
fine.
And yeah, so I just read a thread and I thought, oh, okay, this seems interesting. It's a new platform, never heard of it. And Mario kind of like gave me, you know, all of the instructions on how to go on it, how to connect the Kukai wallet, etc., etc. And yeah, I kind of thought, you know, this is kind of cool. So especially with all of the ongoing chats and everything that's been, you know, going on with like different platforms popping up, clean NFTs, Ethereum, Tezos, etc., etc. And it would be good to get a conversation going. So maybe maybe we can start with like quick intros, so everybody, you know, knows who we are. And yeah, I'm gonna go with the order of my screen. So Mario, do you want to start?
all right, okay. Well, I'm Mario Klingemann. I'm an artist, well known previously for my AI art, and now also since about a year, I'm minting my art also on the blockchain, and well, it works really well. So I'm one of the lucky ones who actually can make a living from that now, and yeah, I don't know, I guess. And now I'm also involved kind of with Hicket Nunc. I guess that's enough for now.
Rafael, you're next. Yeah.
Well, great to be here with all of you. I'm Rafael from Brasilia, Brazil. I have a social science background, and in the last years I've been studying computer science and blockchain development, smart contract development. And I have designed the Hicket Nunc app, the smart contract for creating IFIDs on Tezos, and it is a sustainable application. It is open. It is intends to bring accessible knowledge. So it is a experimental place. It is open source project, and we are experimenting with it. Great to be here. Let's unfold some ideas about it.
Cool. Thanks so much. Angie, I think you're next.
Sorry. Hi there. My name's Angie. I'm actually finishing my dinner at the moment because I wasn't actually going to make it along to this, but I really wanted to come along, so I've squeezed too much into my day. But I'm Angie. I'm an artist, sculptor, animator. I've been doing crypto art for probably about a year now, and before that I was a motion graphic designer and demo artist. And I've just recently started minting on Hicket Nunc, and I love it. And it feels very much like the old days for me, so I'm much happier. It's less competitive, less competitive in a, you know, in a good way. It just feels like the old days. It feels experimental. It feels a bit more. I like new things. I like things as they're emerging, and it feels fresh like that. So that's why I love it, and also because of the eco NFT stuff as well. Sorry, I'm half eating and half talking, so I'm a bit. I'll settle down.
Thanks, Angie. I think James, you're up.
Hey everyone, I'm James Patterson. I've been making art on the internet since 1997, And I just started minting work on nunc a couple of weeks ago, and I'm pretty new to crypto art in general. I think I minted a few pieces on Ethereum before that, but once I heard there was an alternative, then I followed Mario. I saw Mario was kind of taking a risk and taking a plunge, and followed him. So it's been amazing, and it's actually such a, to Angie's point, like such a new, fresh, vibrant community. And Raphael and his team are building. It's like flying in a spaceship that's being built at the same time, and I love that kind of feeling. I love the low gatekeeper, like no gatekeeping, cheap to mint. All those aspects are making it really appealing to me, and the idea so far that it seems to be mostly artists collecting each other's work for the large part, which is really, really exciting to me. And it's kind of bringing back some of the feeling of like early internet art renaissance that I enjoyed, you know, early 2000s, like bringing some of that feeling back to me. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm a coder, animator, drawer, sculptor, kind of fusion. That's what I do. Thanks.
Giovanni?
Hello, so my name is Joanny Lemercier. I'm a visual artist working mostly with light and projection. So I've been doing that for the past 15 years, doing projection on buildings or sculptures. And I also been working in the art market for also a decade with a gallerist in New York City. And I've started making objects and still images and that sort of thing. And I think Mario and Pac sort of got me very excited about the crypto art. Mario was the first to tell me, like, be careful with the environmental damage. And I was like, yeah, I'll be careful. I did my best, but it wasn't enough when I realized the impact on Nifty Gateway, like, of open editions. So I was really angry, and I started working on like understanding better. And Mario again, like, offered a solution and led the way and shown like, oh, look at this other space. There's less people at the moment. I think when you sort of invited us, there were like 200 works or 300 works. So I tried, and now I'm really convinced that this is a solution that we could offer to the community. And we'll discuss this later, but it's not just environmentally friendly, but also the idea of having a 3D model, SVGs, JavaScript, creative coding. I think this is so much more exciting than minting a JPEG. And as I do mint JPEGs, and I think there's potential, but yeah, this conversation is going to be exciting.
Nice, thank you. And Helena?
Hi, I'm Helena, New Jersey based. I'm a software engineer, a visual artist, a craft person. I've been doing AI art, so-called AI art, for the last probably 3-4 years. And recently, a year ago, I got into crypto art somewhat successfully with Super Rare. But then I had couple of stumbling blocks because I started working on GAN comics, books, and I really wanted to mint them, but with crypto, it's just the platforms are too expensive for zines. So for me, what I'm excited about with nunc, that maybe it's a good platform to do art zines and stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
Amazing. Well, thanks all so much. I think it's great to have you all here. You have you bring so many different perspectives, which I'm super honored to have you all here, to be honest. And I'm very excited for this conversation. I think I wanted to start maybe I guess asking Raphael, how did the idea came about, and also the name nunc, which is here and now in Latin, right? So tell us why, how did it all start for you, which might be interesting for the audience as well.
Yes, experimenting with the blockchain space has a lot to do with these basic principles of decentralization, of don't have you don't need intermediaries, so this has some powers to unfold, you see. So the idea was basically to develop some experiments, not only swaps, but other things that would enable people to have their own voices, to be expressed, to manifest yourself, in a mean that uh, you can somehow disrupt conventional means of communication. You don't need to actually be subjected to to processes of filtering the data. I feel that blockchain could enable this direct reach, or that there is this transparency thing that was really important for me, for us to keep exploring and to educate people about it. For people to, it is like a seed for people to try to experiment other models of governance on chain that involves transparency, and this can be helpful for communities, local communities, and governments and other institutions so they can be transparent. So uh, during the COVID, I was coding this smart contract, and there was many things that uh, to keep coding. There was a lot of the context of misinformation that we were living during the COVID, the necessity to educate people about basic health things. Sometimes also like um, we kind of are in a political and ecological and crisis, right? So there is this need indeed for us to transmit knowledge, and it is a effort in this sense. Hic nunc it is from Latin. I believe I read it from some philosophy research that I have. I try to mix some concepts in the implementation of the software also. So, like for example, hic nunc, it means here and now. It is more of a existentialist thing, but there is I like this concept of crazy patchwork also, like to try to connect many linear spaces, and keep pushing through the linears and trying to find new linears, because there are many difficult things, like we put something on chain, but how to it is maybe the horizon is even further, like this experimentation with that people are doing, like with coding SVGs underneath it, and interactive code and creative code. The horizon is always the edges, they are always moving. So the idea is to experiment this I believe, in the blockchain space, in the civic space. And of course, it was a great coincidence, all this movement, to meet all of you, to build this together with all of you. Um, there are many debates on the eco-NIFID and the clean NIFID concern right now on the blockchain space, relative to the energy use of blockchains, like on the Paul algorithms. They spend more energy, and that they have a higher energy consumption. And I believe it is interesting to find solutions among other blockchains. It is important for the Web3 ecosystem to collaborate in this sense, to have multiple chains interacting, to evolve the technology also, and to find other implementations that wouldn't be possible with Paul also, and uh, so uh, yes, Tezos is in a proof of stake blockchain. Um, I use it mostly because it is accessible also for me as a developer, and of course there is some. I also code for it. I have coded, and I hope that Ethereum can evolve and other blockchains can cooperate indeed. But I don't know. There are many things in this debate that are for example, these ecological issues, we face many like power structures that are in governments, and they also are reproduced in blockchains, and we need indeed to think this energy consumption. It is important for the blockchain. In blockchain, we have this state, this importance to innovate and think about these questions. But also, as we think about it, I believe that we can expand these thoughts to other industries, also to have consciousness about these questions, And
yeah.
But yes, right now I believe that it is an accessible platform for sharing knowledge mostly, and there are many upgrades coming with the participation and many discussions coming like regarding which it is pretty much each edge technology. This some of these things are like done for the first time, so some of the methods that are being experimented and all, but there are many discussions coming, like how we can set uh, collective works on like also using smart contracts, and how to use this Web3 technologies and educate the community around them is an interesting thing also from this. We are also
Yeah.
trying to bring this right. As I'm Brazilian, and trying to, I find it interesting to connect these different communities. Like there are people from everywhere in the world, so it has been quite fascinating so far.
Yeah, I'd love to hear thoughts of everybody else, like Mario, Joanny, Angie, like all of you. What got you started into the platform, and just start a conversation around basically, some of the topics that Rafael, just chatted about, which I think are all very important.
Should I start because I started? I mean,
Yeah.
for once.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just to put in the flag as usual. No, but okay, yeah. So as we have heard already, like we are all aware of kind of the CO2 energy consumption discussion that came up to me like last December. I think that's when I think Memo posted some first tweets that got lost. So, and that's when I also started looking into it. And I mean, I'm kind of in between shares because I think it's not as bad as the bad side, but it's also not as good as like the positive side says. And so in the end, well, it is clear that it's not really efficient. And so I was getting more concerned. And then, of course, when was it, like 2 months ago, kind of Nemo started the big side that built the stake where the artists get burned. I don't know, that's how I saw it. And Joni got more active. And that's when I also got kind of like started looking for alternatives, because yes, it was clear there is proof of stake, but it seemed like everything is okay. In a year, we will have it. There's stuff in development, but at the moment we still have to do it. And then you could make your decision if you, continue or if you stop. And I didn't want to stop, or I can't stop. And then actually for me, I just accidentally saw a reply by, I get it wrong, Django something, right? Like he's also in the team, right?
Django Bits.
Yes, exactly. He responded to Art Gnome and just said something like, "Oh, by the way, did you know there are NFTs on Tezos now?" And I, had never heard of Tezos. And but I checked out the link, and there was this one site, like the first link was, I think, to TZ Colors, which is this auction site where you can buy color NFTs. And I really liked the interface and the simplicity of it and how it works. So it looked like, oh, there's something on that chain that works. And then I checked the next link and came to Hic Nunc, which was pretty much just like, you couldn't even you couldn't sell. No, you couldn't sell anything yet, right? So, but you could mint an NFT there. And so that's where I thought, okay, well, that looks interesting. And And of course, the problem with going to a different chain is usually just like we don't like to change our ways. And so I wanted to figure out how hard it is. Is it to switch over and to get the whole wallet thing going? And in the end, it turned out it's like a matter of 5 minutes. And then you, like, that's always the weird thing, right? People think like you can do either this or that. But no, really, you click one link and go through anything you usually do, and suddenly you have a second wallet, and well, then you have to get funds on it. Okay, bit more involved. But then, yeah, and then I minted my first NFT there, and it worked, and it was there, and it costed me like 30 cents. So amazing. And and then the best thing is I even sold them even that there was no market, because, well, just people wrote me a direct message and said, oh, I want to have one. And so I just, oh, we just did the old trust-based thing, right? So like here, you send me the money and I send you the thing, and I promise I will not run away. And then like a day later or two later, you activated the kind of the function. So, which is of course amazing. So, and yeah, so in the end, it's, I think I also wrote like, the problem is like with something like this, it feels like we are starting to build a new colony on Mars, right? So there's nothing there, there's no air supply, and let's say no market. And, but it's also kind of a blank canvas. You can build whatever you like. I mean, and so, and that's what I love. Like there are no rules. Like you don't have to obey the old rules. You don't have to talk in the same way like before. And because there were always, I mean, I joined crypto a year ago, but of course I knew about it like 3 years ago. And the one thing that I really never was comfortable with is the way the art is getting sold, right? Because the art is the kind of the product, and the artists are kind of the brands, and then like they get ranked. And so I always wanted to focus on the art. I mean, yes, you like there's money involved, so you have to like, it is kind of a give and take, and you have to compromise at some points. But if we can try some different approach, well, it doesn't, I mean, like the other approaches, you can already go there. So why not try something new? And then I was, of course, very surprised. I mean, I think, James, you came first with me, or like, because yeah,
maybe
so
Joni, I don't know.
I've shown that it works. I got lots of DMs by my friends and people that know me, and like, oh, how does this work? And then like it went so quickly, and that's important, right? Because I mean, in the end, it solves a problem that everybody has. There's the artists that already are doing crypto, and then there's the big group of people who kind of were very vocal about like, I mean, that's the thing, right? This whole discussion where people go like, oh, you are worse than like, yeah, I mean, like whatever words, like, so, and I mean, I believe some of them gave it a try, and that's the whole thing, right? If you are not in it, you don't get kind of understand why this is exciting and what's different. And so I was really happy when then more and more people who had not done any crypto art or minting their works tried it and suddenly realized that there's something to it. And so at some point, it's just a self kind of propelling thing. And yeah, I don't know, I don't want to talk forever, but what I really find amazing is that in the end, kind of, it builds itself, like, oh, as James said, like, it's really like that train that is going, and like in front we're putting the rails, and at the back somebody starts building the bar wagon and the sleeping wagon. so the whole thing is kind of evolving while we're going at full speed, and sometimes we hit a bump, like, but the nice thing is, like, we don't promise anything, right? We just say it's an experiment and it will go wrong, which is great, because I mean, it will not go wrong anymore, but we never know. So we don't promise the same thing like people who start with the market first and things. So it's really an exciting ride. Okay, I stop for now.
Anybody else wants to join into the hype, the excitement?
Sure. There's a couple of things I just wanted to point out, just for people who aren't familiar with Hicket Nunc and people who maybe never gotten into crypto art in any way, or people who are currently on Ethereum. There's some things to point out that actually make this quite attractive, or what would make it really attractive to me, that I sort of discovered along the way. So we've already talked about, like, you know, the low carbon footprint. An NFT on Tezos is around the same footprint is a tweet, which is, so much lower than the alternative. The gas costs that Mario mentioned, 30 cents to mint versus, gas costs on Ethereum have gotten pretty out of control. And if they can solve their problems and, achieve some sort of radical efficiency, then that's going to be great. And they're going to be, continue to be dominant. But for now, you can mint for 30 cents on Tezos. So that's been really interesting. The idea that on Hicket Nunc, anyone can join, I really found that the gatekeeperness of some of the other platforms kind of difficult to swallow, and the people begging for invites and people not being allowed in. And I love that just anyone can walk through the door. And in the community, it's very much a kind of, get a wallet and I'll send you your first Tezos. That's like anyone will send you one Tez kind of thing, and then you can get going right off that. And you'll never need another Tez. You just mint some work and sell it for cheap, and off you go. The platform itself, which I didn't know until after quite a while playing with it, is only taking a 2.5% cut, which coming from a lifetime of being sort of in and out of the art world, galleries take 50% at a primary sale. The typical platforms on Ethereum take around 15%, and the fact that it's only taking 2.5%, this isn't all about money, but it is also about money, and that's a huge thing for an artist to be able to take home their own sales. I think that the other thing that's really getting me with this is you're really serving two audiences. You're serving a peer audience who's buying your stuff not as a speculative thing. They're buying it because they love your work. They might not even know who you are. There's a lot of anonymity on Hicket Nunc, so they're just buying it because they think that the thing they're looking at is great. And that's really like, buying a band T-shirt or something. It's that price point. It's, they're paying, $20 or $5 or a couple of bucks to buy this thing they love. So there's that whole audience, and the idea of interacting with that audience I find really, really appealing. And then there's simultaneously there's collectors. There's people who are stepping in who are buying it at more serious price points because they think that perhaps the art is going to be worth something, or they think it's worth that to buy it. And so the fact that it has these simultaneous lateral sales to peers and then traditional collectors and sort of everything in between, I think that's really been fascinating for me. And then watching the whole thing be built out from underneath me, and watching the excitement of all the people who are actually like coding the platform and all the artists who are getting involved. That's been really exciting. So yeah, that was just my list of things that have been really turning me on about the platform.
Yeah, maybe I'll add a couple of words. I see Hicket Nunc, and I said about this several times, that like a better model of kind of Patreon, because you basically, it's more useful both for patrons and artists, because you don't have any subscription. You can kind of like mint when you want. You can buy when you want, but still you support artists, and it's kind of like rewarding. So that's the element that I think kind of like maybe grow into something bigger. It's one thing. And then again, when you kind of like remind that you have some kind of works available, it's just a friendly reminder. With crypto art, it was kind of like, I felt every time you kind of post that you have something for 2K, and which is like on the low end of the thing, it's just like was so kind of like a little bit humiliating. So yeah, that's another kind of thing that thank God I got rid of.
Johnny, I know you were nodding the whole way through, so
I have so much to say. I'm going to try to keep it short, but it's so difficult. So I'll just do a short explanation of my background in terms of the economy of the studio. So I've invested a lot into the art market, and I was very lucky to work with a gallery in New York City for the past decade. And I've been many times to Art Basel Miami, actually to Basel, and I've been doing those art fairs. I'm already like super privileged to be in that bubble. But even when you access the art market, it's incredibly competitive. The gatekeeping is insane, and also the footprint of like flying to art fair makes no sense, especially if you fly somewhere and you make no sales, or maybe just one sale. So that this is why I was interested in alternatives. I was very lucky to be accepted as a privileged white man again on these big platforms, Nifty Gateway, Super Rare, Maker's Place. So I was very excited to have something maybe a bit more equal. But still, there is some gatekeeping, and you have to be able to afford the minting cost. But it was exciting. Then I realized that the impact was really terrible. So I did this post, got really involved in a really tense discussions where I was pro NFT, but against irresponsible minting, of the worst example being the open editions on Nifty Gateway. And I talked to every CEO, because I was in this position of being able to talk to the CEO of Super Rare, to Nifty Gateway, Maker's Place, Known Origin. They would all respond to me and engage. I was really hoping, honestly, that they would look into this seriously, by maybe doing layer 2 scaling, by offering a side chain, something that we could do today, and we wouldn't have to wait for Ethereum 2. I've spent the past... Say again?
Yeah, roll-ups, like ZK roll-ups, or some kind of efficient, current tech on Ethereum. Yeah.
Yeah, anything. They could, say, oh, we're going to do something in 6 months or whatever. So I was really hopeful. I actually worked for the past months with Nifty Gateway, expecting the new minting thing to be much better. And I was part of the carbon drop, which finishes in a few hours with Beeple, Gmonk. So it was very exciting to have a solution. And they completely failed us. Like the solution they're implementing is not, it's a catastrophe. It's gonna, they didn't deliver. So basically they're late. It's not here. And the open edition they are doing today is canceling out all the work we've put together with Beeple and Gmonk and with Fuck Random with the team. So to be honest, I can't trust them anymore. So I'm going to try to look somewhere else. Then nunc comes up. First, it's really fun. We have all our friends from the creative coding community, like jumping in, like Mr. Doob made an SVG game in the browser as an NFT. How amazing is this? Like he hacked some JavaScript into the SVG with some music. So it's a bit nerdy, but it's amazing. I think we have this new space where we can actually, and Mario demonstrated it, and the entire community, of like putting embedded website into an NFT, the sort of weird stuff that you can't do on the big platforms, because they're too busy with Grimes and Elon Musk to do those silly things for millions of dollars. So Raphael has been incredibly responsive of like adding new functionalities overnight. So this is really, really amazing. Like today, the new functionality was the new profile verification with links to your Twitter account. We didn't expect this to be so quick, and it's there. So it's amazing. So I am now super exciting. Just the fact that we can have this conversation together. And yeah, it's the first time I'm collecting so many artworks. I think I've got like 30 works that I bought in the past 2 weeks. And Mario has probably done a lot more.
Watching you down about his collection.
That this is amazing. Like, I've actually collected some text-based work from Mario, and some like a game, an iframe. I think now with the SVG, you can actually put in a smart contract a SVG for a plotter. So you could actually sell like a plotter drawing that could be made by the person who buys. It's really amazing. Even the decentralization of the work itself, the potential is just enormous, and it completely almost sort of cancels out the tension in the proof of work world, because now a lot of people on Super are like, so when are we getting the creative coding part? And of course, they can't deliver any updates because they're too busy with Elon Musk. So I think with Raphael and with all the community, we're going to have a lot of fun. And also, I must thank the collectors who are actually keen to join us in this space. I made my first significant sale 3 days ago on nunc. And now collectors are like asking, oh, so can I buy some code or something generative? So I must say that the collectors and the whales, they're also looking at this space, and this is going to open up really exciting opportunities, I think.
I thought Mario was the Hittite nunc whale.
Yeah, one little. No, but I think that's the like
Baby
one
whale.
of the things
Yeah.
some of us might have already kind of ties to kind of the other world, or we are known, and of course kind of we might be more of an influx for like bigger money or kind of larger sales, but the beauty is seeing then kind of how it's spread. I mean, that, I don't know, it's that weird word, that trickle down effect. But yes, of course, I mean, like in the end, like don't you think that that money that you see on that wallet is always feels like play money? So it's, maybe that's like a privilege, but so in the end, it doesn't, like, I love kind of buying all these things and it doesn't hurt at all. And so if I make a big sale, then a part of that goes immediately back into the circulation, and then kind
I've
of
been noticing that
further.
that's
It's really like spreading.
other people have been saying the same thing. Like I've been noticing people like at all levels. Like when you sell your first piece for 10 Tezos, you go and buy a couple of 1 Tezos, 2 Tezos pieces. I'm seeing everybody is doing it at their level. If you're selling a work for 100 Tezos, and you go and spend 20 Tezos or 30 Tezos on other people's work, and there's something really wonderful. I've never had enough money to be an art collector before, and all of a sudden, after 20 years of art, I find myself like roving around Hic Nunc, buying stuff I love, and like the feeling of it is incredible. And I know what it feels like to have someone care about my work enough to buy it. So it's this sense of this sort of like two-way give and take that's really beautiful. Baby whale. Mario.
Somebody was asking me today about.
Sorry, Angie,
sorry. Someone was asking me. Someone was asking me today about whether I was at the stage where I could give up my day job and live off my art, and I said no, I'm not at that stage yet, but I'm hoping at some point I can give up my day job. And then they were talking about buying art, and I was like, well, actually, maybe I'm buying too much art. That's why I can't give up my day job. Because I just keep seeing all this stuff that I'm excited about, and I just want to, I want to buy as well as make art. I think it's just as exciting to see great art and support great artists as it is to make the art as well.
Yeah, amen.
I think
actually
this,
on. Sorry,
something,
Johnny. Go.
So something really short on this paradigm, which I think it's new. This would not happen on the regular art market. You wouldn't have artists making free works that everyone can have to bring, and you wouldn't have creators like artists making an artwork in like 2 hours and like a dynamic SVG and posting it for 1 Tezos or for 5. And I think this is new to this playground. I think some artists, including myself, I'm going to try to make more significant works where I would probably spend 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month to make a physical print. That would be maybe super expensive. But during that process, I will keep making entry-level works, which maybe are like research or, chunks of this upcoming work. And this is amazing because then everyone can collect. And in the art market, this would be a no-go. Like the galleries would tell no, the collectors would tell no. In this new space, I know I'm going to keep making those smaller works that are still meaningful to me, and that so my friends are doing the same, and we can do exchange, etc. So I think this is a major point for the economy of and the model.
Yeah,
which
a lot of people are.
It's crazy that. Sorry. It's crazy.
There's quite a lot of questions
around
this topic, actually.
No,
it's
Nicole.
around this topic.
Go, Nicole.
It's actually around this topic because there's so many questions, guys. I'm like struggling to keep up, but basically, a lot of the questions are around collectors, and people are asking, are collectors actually in Hic Nunc? Like, are you guys selling art? And we're discussing this, so I thought it would be good to bring it up and get your thoughts on what is the collector base, I guess, on the platform, and what your experience has been, all of you. Sorry for the interruption.
I just would like to add a comment. We are trying to follow some statistics from the market. It's quite stable, but I believe that we are finding a intuitive version for it to be accessible for collecting and for creating. So, but the creative potential, I believe, it is indeed something that people would be attracted to. This aspect of circular economy is really interesting also that you all mentioned. It is a strong aspect of it, but I also believe that as it is accessible, we can try to bring this to create indeed a diverse community, to bring minorities and to try to experiment with these potentialities of the circularity on it. But indeed, there are, as James commented, there is different. There is a circular economy, and there is also this. Let's see how the graphs comes out from the interactions, from the addresses, also.
So I don't know. From my side, I have the impression that most of the, well, let's call them whales, or the collectors who pay, I don't know. I sold a few pieces for 1,000 pesos, which I think is pretty good. And I believe they are actually coming from the Tezos scene. It's not the collectors we know from the other chains, which is great because that's it's a whole. So the only thing is that kind of this type of collecting didn't exist until now on that chain. So I'm happy if that there are people already who kind of love art, can afford kind of buying higher priced things, and can establish themselves now as the new whales. I believe maybe there's still, of course, this kind of skepticism maybe from, let's say, people who have a lot of investments on the Ether chain. So I think they might just sit and watch and see how it develops and how it plays out. Because that's the thing we can't really say, right? But in the end, Tezos exists since 2 years, 3 years. I'm not quite sure about the history, but so it's not a chain that will suddenly vanish. So it is here now and it's growing. And so I believe that the near-term, long-term perspective is it's more growth, and we will see other platforms. So that's the other thing. Right now, this is the experimental artist community on Mars thing that we have settled on. But at the same time, there are other kind of exchanges being in the almost starting, like Calamint. I don't know. There are some other projects I've heard about. So kind of, let's say, if people find the Hic et Nunc approach a little bit too confusing, there will be markets that are more what they are used to, and that's great because in the end, it's all the NFTs will be tradable within that ecosystem, and OpenSea will soon. But yeah, it's been announced that will make that interface. So in the end, I believe we will see more collectors who already are heavily invested in Ether NFTs give it a try. Because as I said before, it's not an either-or solution, right? So nothing prevents you from keeping going both ways. And
yeah, and I have to add maybe that I have this question on my mind. Also it's logical. We're a collectors. Is it sustainable? But it's up to us actually. So it's just like what maybe. Yeah, so it's up to us how it pans out, and if we put junk work, nobody will come. But if we kind of put our best and good work, collectors will come inevitably.
Art Gnome.
Hey guys. Thanks for having me. I was just super excited, and I'm like, oh, all my friends are asking the questions about what's going on, and
FOMO.
I had FOMO, yeah, but I mostly want to learn and thank Rafael and Mario and the others that are exploring new spaces. So I remember when we were at this stage with the other blockchains that have kind of grown and become dominant, right? And I think I'm anything but a maximalist, and I've always said that we need lots of experimentation from lots of artists on lots of chains to try to figure out what's going to work. But we're at a critical juncture, right, where people are at the doors and saying, I really want to participate, but for me, maybe I can't wait until another chain moves to POS, and I want an option here. And the exciting thing for me, and Mario, I think, and Helena can attest to this, is that while I love the early artists that embraced and adopted crypto art early on, I'm 20 years into generative art. That's really where my passion was, and my fantasy for 5 years has been like, will the generative artists ever embrace this? And I think 2018, when they first started paying attention, the whole ICO scams started coming in and kind of crushed it, and the market kind of went down for it. And I saw, oh no, this could happen again, but this time it could be the ecological concerns, which are totally legit, right? So seeing, my favorite generative artists finding a spot where they feel ethically like they can contribute in like super creative and imaginative ways is just super exciting. So I think that's my take. And then silence.
We're just polite.
I concur.
There's a few questions that talk about intellectual property and the risks. I actually had Kid McGrath reach out to me today about this. And he just said, there's somebody who has used my art and is minting it on Hic et Nunc. I know the problem is not only for Hic et Nunc, it's a problem that happens on other platforms as well. It happens on Rarible, it happens on OpenSea. I guess it's a common issue within the space. So I guess it's it's not even a question, it's just a form of conversation. How do we think we together in the ecosystem we can tackle this, or what are the solutions to tackle this problem and to overcome this?
Anybody?
So yesterday I was talking to someone that he posted a video, and he works on appropriating videos from other people and making art of it. And I saw the Nifit, and I was like, I started following this person to see if I found out who it was. And I talked to him privately, and he was, I have a laboratory for researching this as an artistic method, as a form of, there is a culture of copyleft, etc. But we need to indeed, we have to educate people about it, of course. Like, the protocol has the possibility, you don't need to exchange values for an Nifit. You can exchange like for free or just exhibit. And these are properties that are interesting for the person to protect themselves against like issues regarding this. So I believe that blockchain, you have to use it constantly. So that's something people should be always have. So this is something people should always have in mind. But also it is a cutting edge indeed context for experimentation. So I believe that we have to discuss this, to have this discussion healthily, and so, but also so we can keep experimenting. For example, age content, I find super interesting actually to experiment also with other things, that might be related to, that might be, that might have age restrictions, but these are many things that we could still, yes, discuss. Regarding the art norm comment about the experimentation, also there are indeed many possibilities, I believe, that are being, like this I commented out, swaps, giveaway swaps, or the property of an Nifit, what it can carry. We are thinking on some experimentations, like using lib P2P, for live streams and stuff. So there are many things that I believe that we have to be patient with, cutting edge things. This experimentation must be a priority, but many of these things must be discussed. For example, privacy, the right to remain anonymous, to be forgotten. This is a thing that people must think also before joining, and we have to educate them also about this and research about this possibility also. Like the person can be public, but what if the person wants to manifest something and wants to have anonymity, you know? And these are many topics that are interesting to think in it.
That was another aspect of the community that I found really, really interesting. The anonymity, the choice to be as anonymous as you want. The viewing of work when work is mostly anonymous does something psychologically to me, where when I'm looking at the work, it changes the way that I see the work completely. As an artist who's publishing work also, I now have my name on it. And actually the first day that my name showed up on it, I was like, oh, I kind of loved having it just be my wallet address. I might go back to that. You can always attach your name and your brand to it somewhere else. That can happen on Twitter. That can happen elsewhere. But I like the idea of this kind of platform that's stripped. That it could be a platform that's by default has no gender, orientation, race. It has no comments. It has no likes. It has no stuff that just makes the rest of the internet kind of a sludge fest. And being in a place that's fresh and free of all that is so refreshing. So, yeah.
I guess the only thing that I would miss about that is being able to find people again. Because if I was looking to see if someone had posted recent work, I kept having to refer back to their Twitter posts to find out
it is confusing
to where they are. Yeah. But apart from that, I agree that I really liked that just being a number.
Yeah.
I think real quick, one thing that I get a lot is people are like, aren't you just recreating the traditional art world star system? And I think in some ways, the other platforms to some degree are, and I don't think it's necessary. It's not an intended evil. It's most people aren't confident necessarily in their taste in art. So when they see someone who's selling for a lot, even if they're not trying to be speculative, it's just easier to follow the social signal that this is selling for a lot. Lots of people are buying it. It must be good. And I think if we can build a mechanism that reinforces people to build the muscle and get more comfortable with I just like this. Like it may not go up and it's affordable and I can take the risk to buy it because I like it. I think that's great. So to the degree that you can continue to bake that into the platform, I think it answers that question, which is a valid question of are we just recreating the old system, right? So really excited about the ways that we can break that.
One thing that I thought would be great is like all of the platforms, you just see a stream of images going up and down the page. If you actually saw almost like a cloud of images where you looked at them all and just something jumped out at you, that would be a really nice way of choosing something.
Didn't you see my work? Didn't you see?
Yeah, exactly.
Mario made that.
Kind of the idea. I mean, I hope that more people will build these. So the way I see it, like somebody builds a new interface and we prototype it somewhere on a different URL, but like eventually if it works, then we can maybe even like have all these different ways of exploring what's there, like random or cloudy. Yes, exactly, because it's fascinating how much the way these interfaces are built has an influence on the art that is created and like who's being bought, right? Like, I mean, one thing that I also love is that we are not getting forced into squares anymore, because I believe that, for example, also caused a lot of people to get, okay, well, if it gets cropped off, then I just start with a square. But also the idea, so right now, of course, we have the time-based problem. Like if you are not on the first 5 scrolls, then well, people have to find you on Twitter again. So we definitely need some ways for random stuff or search some way or weird new types of interfaces. I would love to see more of those, and some that kind of automate up automatically and not me having to kind of scrape and classify and upload. Oh, I'm again 3 days or 5 days behind. But yeah. That's exactly what's so exciting. We have all this access. The data is out there. You can grab it and then build something from it. And put it back into this community and like see what works and what doesn't, and just wonderful.
Bring back weird Flash interfaces, right?
Exactly. I mean, Jared is the best example, right? Jared Tarbell, co-founder of Etsy. In the beginning, he built those crazy new interfaces, and it worked kind of amazingly, right? Like buy by color, buy by whatever, like show me just animals. I don't know. So there's all these weird new ways of searching for art, and I want to see them all. And we can do this so quickly because
Yeah. The openness of it is incredible. Just the fact that it's like completely open, and watching this, like even 3 weeks in, watching this ecosystem of third-party tools, people doing analysis of sales over here, Mario doing experimental visualization interfaces so you can collect art in these, huge visual interface. Just sort of the possibilities of, if you open up your data and you open up the code, what happens in the third party is just super exciting to me. Joni, sorry, it looks like I cut you off.
Now I have one last word about the forgery aspect, which of course forgery has existed for as long as art has existed, almost. But finally, we do have a tool to address that. We have the blockchain, and you can trace every transaction. You can trace who minted the work. So the tool to solve that issue is here. And we, as Raphael said, we just have to educate ourselves and our community. So if you are buying some work, especially some work that you find very meaningful, and you put maybe some significant amount of money, just check who minted it. Just see who made it, and then problem solved. So except if you are on Nifty Gateway, because or some platform, the artists do not mint their own work. But generally, I mean, we have an amazing solution. So it's going to be about like educating the buyers. But finally, we don't have to do certificates anymore. I've been doing those for 10 years, and I don't feel they're not really good because someone can copy my certificates. So the blockchain, I think, for this is incredible.
Just let me add one thing. In the end, it's still not a magic tool that that you can just stop thinking, right? And it's kind of like, yes, you can follow whatever the trail to the wallet ID, but you still have to know how to do it. And I think many people who are new to this believe we suddenly have invented this magic method that when you mint it, it's true and it's real. But in the end, it's just an entry in a database anybody can make, and you still have to have multiple kind of independent sources for the truth that you like, that can confirm that. But in the end, it's still like the internet, where everybody can upload their opinion and their photo and pretend something. It's just easier to kind of follow the trail and check if it's really true. But you still have to kind of like have due diligence or check like that it's that it's so. More questions? What?
There are a few questions on secondary market sales.
There.
Yes, this is an expected feature for we are going to enable like swaps for everyone who holds a token. You swap up, and there will be a list of swaps available, and that will be the first version. And yes, it is. We can expect this next week probably. Another thing that we are focusing is indeed this random feed and governance, like a decentralized feed. So you can create some works, and this is like in the near term. But I find interesting many of these comments. For example, indeed the protocol is decentralized, so you can implement your own store. Also, you can use the protocol. You can research. You can provide other displays for it and experiment with it. But yes, there are many possibilities still from NIFIDs as a certification. Is interesting this multiple sources of registries, multiple registries attesting truth. Actually, it makes it even stronger. Actually, the certificate aspect of it, and but yes, this what Johnny commented out. It is maybe interesting also this relation with the physical world from with Nifits. But yes, let's see how things goes. It is in constant development. It's like I say, don't break the ship. You know? Let's keep maintaining it stable. And but yes, there are updates sometimes that are even a surprise for me from collaborators like this uh, this JavaScript interactive thing was really a surprise for me also. I was just following, like, but
Do you want to talk about it, Mario, a little bit of what you've been building or what you're doing?
Group should be there, or, and again forgot, like the people who also made the whole kind of sandboxing possible. And sorry for not kind of remembering your names now. Maybe somebody else can chime in. I think there were like 2 or 3 other people involved who got this first thing happening. So please, somebody add that to the comments. Well, I mean, in the end, now we have like our own operating system within there and can do anything. So like we just saw kind of a tiny glimpse of it, because really I think we can do anything now in this thing that, like, because as SVG file is like a tiny browser, right? It can do JavaScript, we can do vector. I don't know if we can put in videos there, and there are some issues that I have currently with like accessing external data, which might not even be a good idea to do. So there's always that balance, right, between doing something like saying this NFT is forever, or this is an experimental piece that works now and hopefully also in 2 or 3 years, but we all know that technology changes. So, well, that's always the question, right? Like if you think of like, maybe it's about pricing it right, then saying, okay, if you buy this now for 5 TETs, then maybe it's okay that I cannot guarantee you that this will work forever, but now it's exciting and you are part of it. And in the end, you might just have something like an 8-track tape, right? Which also probably not many people can play anymore, but it's still kind of a beautiful thing to have. So, like, but yeah, and I believe that we will find other ways, things we can embed. It's always now, of course, the balance between keeping things safe and like not breaking anything permanently, only temporarily. So we want to be careful about that. I mean, I don't know. What I would like to see is kind of a presentation mode, right, where you can kind of click on it and then it just becomes the gallery, so you can put it on a screen, like little things that are now constraining the thing to a square, like SVG, or I don't know, does it? Yeah, I'm babbling. But yeah, and also for me, the weirdest thing is I actually have no idea how many people are working on something, and so maybe Raphael, you can tell me, like, are you like in a way a one-person team, and then the others? Well, how many others are there that you are actually that have admin access to the repository who can push? Is it just you?
there are many restrictions like to the repository. You can make a pull request, but I'm the only one accepting it. I have to study it, but there are multiple persons contributing. Like it is a distributed team.
Okay.
There are people from everywhere that contributes to connecting all the system. You know, it is an open source effort indeed. I got many examples to build it and to put it together. I use many open source tools in the meanwhile, but I'm the one deploying it. But you can reproduce the repository even in localhost. You know, that's a
I will
good
try
tip.
that. Yes, I actually do this. So it's just too much stuff going on at the same time, and I'm always too lazy to do certain things. But then maybe that's a good question. Like, if somebody wants to kind of build something now or help, so what's the the best steps? I guess go to the GitHub issues, or what do you recommend? Or join the Discord group?
Yes, the Discord group has a developer channel. There are some collaborators that um, bring interesting ideas there and share some ideas there. Uh, there are some aspects. We want to build an SDK for develop, so it can be easier for you to get data from the chain and to build those apps and to be more flexible. And this is something that it will come in the near future, I believe, because it expands some possibilities also from integrating the protocol by other means. But there are some things that indeed are important to think, like indeed how to like smart contracts that the community may want also to implement along the system is interesting to for us to think together. This like um, how to build expositions uh, or create groups that uses the protocol, in local places. Like there is an interesting thought, for example, this community question is indeed interesting. For example, we were thinking there is this traditional market of NIFIDs that indeed involves auctions um, and there are many. It is possible, for example, to implement auctions in Tezos. There are groups who has these contracts, and it would be possible. I find it interesting in the sense that it could bring capital, for example, for projects and so like projects that are looking. Uh, we could try to find. There is a sort of intelligence maybe that moves the protocol also. Trying to build this community, in a decentralized manner, and trying to focus on questions that are not usually treated by mainstream. So there are many questions that we would like to bring together with the community. The next steps for building smart contracts also. There is all these UI things that are being uh, fully implemented this month, but there are many interesting things for us to think, like other smart contracts designs in the future, I believe.
And you're saying that is happening on the Discord group, kind of like if anybody who feels part of the community wants to join the discussion, that's the main meeting point is Discord. What do you say?
Yes, or GitHub.
Okay,
GitHub is really welcome comments there also.
So just to echo the what Raphael discussed, for people who are not familiar with the website, I would like to just show like 2 or 3 artworks that were made possible only in the past 4 days. Okay, so this is completely new. I won't tell the names because some of them are like really famous media artists and some of them are not as famous and beginners, and this is wonderful. Just really quickly. So this is not a GIF. This is not a video. This is an SVG file with embedded JavaScript. So it's a hack. Inside the SVG, you can have actually music and code. This is WebGL running inside an NFT. So this is a shader. So for the technical nerds like me, this is just completely incredible to have a shader in an NFT. This is a piece from a very famous artist who's in this
it
group.
doesn't work on mobile, or does it on yours?
No, it doesn't. But on Chrome on the web it works. So this is a drawing application. So actually the artist is not the artist; it's the collector, the user who can actually use the code. So this is just like a few. So this is a game from Mr. Doob. It is a game in the browser. So with music. So just for people who are not familiar with nunc, have a look. Feel free to browse our collections. Like I know Mario probably has the best collection of all these new upcoming experiments, I think.
Yeah, well, I always buy the first ones, of course, but that I see. And if I'm not at home and my mobile wallet is empty. Yeah.
So this is super exciting, like to be able to work with code, shaders, dynamic, generative, interactive. So I would, yeah, anyone who's interested in these topics and collectors also, I think you should watch this space. It's incredible.
Anybody want, because I just had a wild thought also, because I mean, right now it's really artists and like amazing coders who built this thing. But as we already noticed, this thing grows so fast that we kind of almost don't know what's happening here and there and there. So, well, I would really like to invite people who like to either like to write about it or to write tutorials, because the other thing kind of that I think worked pretty well was like when I set up this bounty, because I wanted to have this bot that showed, because like as an alternative interface. And so within a day, Dominikus Bauer kind of put up a Twitter bot. And so the same thing, I believe there would be some appreciation from the people who earn money on this platform to pay people who kind of are not making art, but maybe want to write about it or want to write tutorials or other things, or to kind of also participate. And I don't know, maybe we have to set up some grants or some funds where kind of get this sharing even expand. Yes, there we go. Yeah. Or so in a way, I have no idea in which way you can, if you don't feel you are an artist who makes pictures, but there are other ways which are also mintable, or kind of where some money can be kind of funneled into a different grant that the community can decide. I mean, the Tezos rewards, for example, are there. So something similar could be for people who do amazing stuff, not only get exposure, but actually can earn some money, which I believe would be nice to have. So if you feel like you have something to contribute, which is not just videos or pictures, get in touch. I think we see what can be like,
how-to guides. I mean, I tell 15 people a day how to mint and list on Hicket Nunc, and so some to really take that on and make sure there's an up-to-date. Then the developers don't have to worry about updating what they can change as quickly as they want to, and this person just stays on top of it and makes sure the how-to guide is ready to rock for anyone who wants to step into the community. Feels like one place that I've been thinking about, and like totally willing to chip in some Tezos for that and some art for that. Like, you know, pay people in rare NFTs, that kind of stuff. I think that could be really fun.
As someone who's been collecting for 4 years across other platforms, and I don't want to steal. If you have another question, McCole, I'll wait on this one. But I just knowing a bunch of the collectors and a bunch of the artists, the questions that are going to come up are going to be like, so how healthy is the Tezos ecosystem, and like, you know, how robust is this? And if it's easy when I'm spending less money in the beginning, but if I like buy something really big, what happens if Hicket Nunc goes under? You know, like, can I still access my thing on another blockchain or whatever? I think it's probably, you know, if part of this is to educate folks through this, I think it's worth taking like a minute just to kind of speak to that, because I think those are the ideas that are spoiled. People are like, oh, cool artists, and I'm on all these other chains, but like the FUD would be, it's new, and all of these are kind of scary and new, and this one's newest and scary, you know. So just maybe a minute on that, I think would help a lot of folks.
Yes.
Yeah, there's
example,
quite a lot of questions on that too. So great question.
Cross-chain integrations, for example, if you have one wallet, you have to create another wallet now. So it is difficult to manage, but yes, blockchain, we don't have this culture, I believe, of dealing with multiple chains, but this is a technology that we also must push, you know. I would be totally interested also in thinking on designs for smart contracts to be totally compatible with other chains, but of course it is a research topic that there must be like collaboration, and it is a scientific matter almost, you know. So These are questions that are, of course, taken into account. We try to follow some metadata standards from the ecosystem, and also token standards, so it can make it easier this transposition possibly with other chains. Um, there are it is possible to do this sort of transfer, like you hold the NIFT in one chain, and you could try to make a bridge. But yes, there are many possibilities yet to unfold, I believe. But there are many questions. For example, the royalties from the smart contract that also will come the with the secondary market, how to implement this in other chains. And this actually indeed is important to be discussed. Um, but it is good actually to face this problem, because I find it really interesting, cross-chain communications, and many people say that the future will have indeed many chains. So it is a matter of research also. But yes, following standards is some token standards is an important step also, I believe, on this.
Uh, in,
Yeah,
in just
sorry,
2 words, I'm going to make it super short, but I've spent the past months and a half doing some research on POS platforms. So I talked to a lot of people from Wax, Calamint, all these upcoming platforms with Polkadot, Vive3, all these. And it's not easy, but the one feedback I had that was very positive from whales and from investors is that Tezos, being a full blockchain, it's not a side chain. It's actually a full blockchain. I think a lot of the big investors are confident. I think Tezos will be on OpenSea very shortly. And OpenSea is also, I talked to Alex, the founder of OpenSea, for an hour on this topic. And they will also implement Matic, so layer 2 scaling on Ethereum. So I guess when we'll have Tezos on OpenSea, and the need for the bridge is going to be even better. And the fact that OpenSea is considering Tezos, I think, is a good indicator. But we will need bridges, and all these questions are very important. I'm not a specialist, but I have a sort of good feeling that Tezos might be a serious alternative.
Yeah, I also just wanted to chime in that Tezos is not something that was pulled out of the head like 2 months ago or something. So it's been around. There was, I think, some kind of weird investor stuff in the beginning, which I don't care about, because also, I don't know if you have watched some interview. I don't know. I always like my inventors to be super clever and smart. And like when I listen to them, I only understand half of it. But so there is Arthur and Kathleen Brightman, who are the Vitaliks of Tezos, as I understand it. So just as a personal thing, I trust kind of like that there is some deep thought behind it. And so the underlying technology I find quite fascinating, that unlike other chains, it can update itself. So there's never the thing where it has to be forked when a big change is being made. And it has, I think, updated itself 5 times. Oh, don't ask me, somebody. So that, I believe the technology is really solid and forward looking. It's not something that kind of will go away because, I don't know. So like if there is some better way to do things, then it can just upgrade itself. So there's no need for kind of, oh, let's move this all now to Ether 2 and test this for ages. So there are some, like, with my half knowledge and understanding, I have just a very good feeling that it's not something that now got whipped up quickly. It has been tried and tested, only it's always the usual thing. Like if you have a really good working system on the other side, like it's a hard battle to kind of convince people like, come over here, it's actually better. But well, it's like you have your mobile contract, right? Or your internet or your banking account. I mean, it's so much effort to switch over that you usually say, okay, I stay here because even if I pay kind of half of it, got all the trouble of changing this and this. I think kind of adoption is mainly a thing of it's being a hustle to do. And like, as long as the other thing works, why should I? But over time, if, well, we have something interesting to offer, I hope that there will be kind of an effect where kind of people take that 5-minute kind of effort to install a wallet and just give it a try. And but yeah, I'm not a super expert, so I can only operate from my gut feeling and have the feeling that the fundamentals, and I mean, in the end, our NFTs are stored on, like, the data is on the same IPFS as anybody else's, so there's no difference. So that stuff is actually on the same on the same server, right? So only the NFT standard is a different, but it is a standard. So again, it's, well, that's just normal. And well, I don't think you can just easily take something from A to B, but that's almost like you bought an VHS and now you have a CD player, right? So you just have these two, and sometimes you want to watch an old VHS, or sometimes you put in a CD and now you go to Netflix. So hey, there's always kind of, it doesn't devaluate the other thing in that sense. It's just technology will always come up with something new in this field. So
something I've seen.
Just what will happen with all the Ether NFTs that we have now, right? When Ether 2 comes on, nobody has really an idea of how will that change the market? Like, can they just be ported to S2.0, or is this a total different standard? So there are also variables which we cannot really estimate yet. I don't know. I have not heard about the plans there. So there's always uncertainty.
Journey?
Something I've seen from Mario actually was the fact that Mario has minted some works that have broken, but it offered a replacement from the work with a new NFT that actually solves the issue or works.
A patch. I offer a patch. So that's my new thing, right? So yeah, I believe, why not? I mean, there's this thing like if you have already managed to kind of drop your disbelief that kind of like that digital files cannot be art, right? So you are already here and believe that an NFT is something that has a value. I think it's not that hard to say, like, let's be realistic. It's technology, and everything else that is technology gets updates all the time. So why not, like, if you get a complicated piece of art, allow for patches? So you have bought it, an error occurs, well, you get a free patch. I can only do that on Tezos because it costs me 30 cents to mint or it cost me, let's say it cost me the $10 to send it to everybody. But if I would do that like on Ether, it would cost me a few $1,000s just to transfer the patch to everybody else. So
I want to be a patch whale, just exclusively collect Mario's patches and corner the market.
Yeah, well, I still work out the system. But yeah, that's of course the problem with NFTs, right? So you mint it and then you cannot change it anymore. So that's the idea. So the only way to patch it is to say, okay, here's the thing that kind of gets on top of that, or it kind of like, we figure it out. But yeah, so you can't just upload a new file. Oh, maybe somebody finds a way. I think you can.
I've been having this feeling that because it is accessible like that to mint, and also because it is open source, I believe that it is really interesting for this crypto art context, like to bring people and to bring their ideas. There definitely it's gonna pop up many things that we don't imagine yet. This is something I like to believe, to try to imagine how the future of crypto art, etc., is going to be also.
Damn.
There are just some questions around the topic of the environment, and a few people are asking, especially because Giovanni is here, to talk about that, because he's a great activist. Obviously, I think he's still here. Yes.
Yeah.
Just asking, from your side, like, I think you mentioned it before, but maybe the people that have just joined weren't there at the start, but just mentioning I guess, what's the real difference between Ethereum and the Tezos blockchain?
So I'm not the most technical person, but the sort of the short story, which is a bit of exaggeration, but the way I understand it is that proof of work, you have 100 computers solving the same puzzles, but only one computer finds the solution. So 99 computers are just wasting energy and time and super inefficient. Now, proof of stake, which is a different algorithm that Tezos is based on, you have 100 computers, they're all doing different puzzles and they allow different transactions. So you can do a lot more transactions and the energy cost is actually much lower. And in this case, we've seen Raspberry Pis doing those puzzles. So you can actually have a very tiny computer minting those puzzles, not minting, but trying to doing those puzzles. So you don't need a big GPU. You don't need a big NVIDIA graphic card in a big server room in China running on coal in the worst case scenario. So you can actually mint with a very tiny computer. So that's the fundamental idea that makes the difference. You have something inefficient, proof of work, and POS sort of solves the issue. So now let's say if tomorrow we stop using the big NFT platforms like Super Rare, Nifty Gateway, it's not true that it's going to save the planet right away. This is a very small part of the Ethereum. We could say it's insignificant, but I still believe as artists, we should show that we care and we do an effort and we try to bring along the artists with a like-minded trying to do that effort. So we're not going to save the planet, but we're showing a way that is a lot less worse than Ethereum at the moment. What shocked me the most, to be honest, is when I looked at my own consumption for one drop on one platform. It was so the estimation is not necessarily accurate, but that one drop used about the same energy as 3 years of electricity at the studio. It's not massively accurate. It might be 2 years, it might be 1 year, it might be 6 months. Still, it's terrible. So this is why I want to advocate for the clean NFTs. And a lot of people on the Discord server that have been really helpful, doing amazing conversation. We're all working on that idea to bring people to a better space. We're not going to save the planet, but I think we're sending a better signal. Again, like Nifty Gateway has been doing this carbon drop, which finishes in a few hours. I didn't take a public position on this, but I will do tomorrow after the end of the auction, because the artists have been putting so much work into this. To fundraise, to bring transparency. So I was part of the project and I did an artwork, spent endless hours trying to address the issue. So the artists are doing their part, but the platform, they refuse to put the open editions on hold, which means that when Nifty Gateway does one open edition, it cancels out all the work we've been putting together with Gmonk and Beeple and the whole team, because the impact of a single open edition just is canceling out all the fundraiser we've been working on. So the carbon drop team is amazing, but Nifty Gateway, they have no interest at all in lowering their impact. They have a new system coming up, but it's actually just a small smart contract change. It's not layer 2 scaling, what we've been asking for about 2 months now. They have no interest in this at the moment. So let's move to nunc, because not only it solves the issue by using proof of stake, but also it's super fun. All the friends are here. We sort of collect each other. And for me now, it's the main focus, the solution and the sort of positivity of creating a new economic model for artists and for collectors, wealth and young collectors like myself.
Tony, I have a question. Maybe you know the answer to. Maybe Raphael, you know the answer to this. I've been hearing, when crypto.wtf, the site was going, I did a lot of research, and basically one NFT on Ethereum was, from what I could gather, was around 100 kilograms of carbon, give or take, or 200, 100, something in that neighborhood, a day or two of power from a full-scale North American household. And I've been hearing that an NFT on Tezos is roughly equivalent to that of a tweet. How accurate is this? Is this bullshit? Is this real? Because that's a great story. 100 kilos of carbon versus a tweet. Is that legit? Or is that greenwash?
Yes, there is a difference that is related to the algorithm that, like Johnny was commenting. The proof of work algorithms, you have to exhaustively use the computer to do calculations, and this hits things, and um, there is a high energy cost, computational cost for it. In the proof of stake, there is the mechanism is different. The consensus for you to validate each block, you don't use like exhaustive computation. It is a, a trust between different nodes which validate this, and if they validate correctly, they receive rewards, and so the energy cost for this process is indeed uh, way lower than in the proof of work algorithms in the present state of art.
Is it in the neighborhood of, I've heard it's in the neighborhood of actually 1 million times more efficient? Is that the case? Is it not quite that radical, or is it that radical?
Yes, like I don't know the proportions, because there are exactly the proportions, but it is a radical difference. Because, for example, for you to mint an IFIT or deploy a smart contract, gas fees can be really high, and other operational things in Ethereum in this case. But yes, in terms of, I don't know if the market cap will change and the price will rise, but the energy cost is way less indeed in this state that we are.
Let me kind of just give you my understanding in kind of like my fantasy way. So when you send a tweet, kind of you send that tweet to the Twitter server, and if it contains a video or an image, it first has to store that and process it, and then it blasts it out to everybody else, right? Like a server. And so if you mint an NFT, in a way, kind of you like pass that information, that transaction to, like, first of all, the kind of the NFT, it's like the bitmap itself, well, gets just kind of processed by a regular server, right? And stored to IPFS. So that kind of does not even go into the blockchain only. And so then you send this transaction data to be processed by the network, but the network has not to do any kind of things besides processing the code of the smart contract. It does not have to calculate whatever prime numbers, right? That's kind of how I understand it. In a way, it's just like a server farm that like kind of makes sure everything gets put in the right place, but it's not like additional extra work to like to burn energy just to prove that that you did the work. It's just processing a piece of data like any server processes anything you send to the internet by tweeting. That's kind of where the idea comes from, that it's like a tweet. So in the end, there's no kind of like, no burner that kind of like that when you on the click of a button it fires up a kind of like another log just to prove that you're there. It's just like a server or several servers that check your data. So that's the logic in my understanding. I got it wrong, but, and of course with the numbers of like 1 million or something, I can only trust kind of the articles I read and their numbers and how they come to that conclusion, because it's difficult kind of to calculate. But from I have not seen anybody disprove it or bring up counterpoint. I mean, like now what you have is you have all these chains kind of fighting for like dominance, right? Like all these new things come back. So I'm pretty sure like if there's these battles going on between these side chains and new chains. So if you really put information out there that can be disproved easily, I'm pretty sure we would have heard about that now, because that's exactly what like everybody's looking for. Okay, oh, they come with 1 million, like 1 millionth factor. Well, let's find where they are wrong. And so far, I mean, I'm still waiting for somebody to say, oh no, actually, haha, you're worse or something. So hasn't come yet. So, and overall, I also feel like there's a lot of transparency and openness in Tezos. So people are really trying to. I mean, I put that question also to some of the people and say like, am I talking bullshit here? But then they kind of recalculated and said like, it might actually be kind of better or worse. Like, but it's exactly in that ballpark. But it's so hard to calculate because you can't really say exactly. So it's more about like what's the infrastructure behind it comparable to, and what's the process that happens when you send that transaction, like how. So yes, I would say we can be quite comfortable about it. I don't know. I don't think it will fly in our face. So it will not suddenly be like, oh, but it's actually like boiling a bathtub. So no, definitely not.
Yes,
Guys, I
believe that
think.
indeed. Just
Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
gone?
Rafael.
Keep
We
cutting
lost
Nicole
Helena.
off.
Maybe this ecological indeed concern, it is an important movement to be happening in blockchain, and possibly it can bring consciousness even wider. And of course, this aspect of being we try, while we try to experiment with optimized solutions like for energy consumption, I believe it builds a good ecosystem, a healthy ecosystem for us to indeed be free to experiment, with the space, with the crypto space. But it is important indeed to try to keep collaborating with the blockchain ecosystem and try to take these questionings that we are having even further, like because ecological indeed our ecological crisis is indeed something that much of our community spirit is needed actually in the world, to deal with these subjects, I believe.
Definitely. I completely agree. I think maybe we can come to an end for today. There's a lot of, I think we've answered most themes that were in the question. So I hope at least we gave a good idea about Hic Nunc and about, the main topics that were discussed. But let's definitely do this again. Let's talk about it more. Let's talk about the wider subjects of the ecosystem more. I think it's an amazing forum to do so. Open discussions are always welcome, and I think it just keeps the ecosystem sane. So yeah, thank you all so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And have a good evening or rest of your day, depending on where you are.
Well,
Thanks, Nicole.
thank you for having us.
Thanks for
Thanks
having
for
us.
letting me come to the party.
Thanks a lot.
It was a
Bye,
pleasure.
guys.
Thank
Bye,
you. It
everyone.
was
Bye.
nice to meet you.